We've now got some real details on exactly what the White House wants in the final reconciliation package. And as I said before, there is just no way around it. This thing is a dog in nearly every way.
Is Joe Biden getting rolled and giving away the farm in this $3.5 trillion reconciliation negotiation? And it ain't looking good, folks.
President Joe Biden, who campaigned on reversing Trump's tax cuts for the rich, who claimed to care so much about the working people of America, has now turned around and offered all sorts of ridiculous concessions to corporate Democrat Joe Manchin in the Senate. Now, these concessions don't really seem to move the needle much for Joe Manchin. He still hasn't committed to voting in favor of the budget reconciliation bill. Neither has Kyrsten Sinema, but we can now see clearly what direction this bill is going in. It will be watered down.
It's a total mess. It's possibly worse than Obamacare in terms of how it would actually work out politically. And look, just ask yourself, is there any reason why you think right now that this bill needs to pass? Go and ask people around you. Honestly, people were more invested in the Obamacare one than they are in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Nobody knows what's actually in this bill. Everybody thinks it's like some weird stuff going on in DC, 1.6, 1.9. I don't really understand. Bottom line is, it looks like if you're, rely on childcare, which they've been pushing now for a long time, price actually might go up for you. I just think politically, it's a total and complete disaster.
We talked about this on the show numerous times about how the Biden-Harris administration are now okay with getting rid of all these things that supposedly sound great. Money for schools, money for community colleges, Medicare for all.
Don't get people healthier educated.
Yeah,
it's the number one way.
Wait, hold on, wait. I want to make a correction. Not Medicare for all, but lowering Medicaid, doing something about climate change, and so many other, child care, all this kind of stuff that a lot of people really like. But the Democrats are taking it all out of the bill.
Now, do I think progressives will actually vote this bill down? Not looking too good, guys. Pramila Jayapal, whose leadership I have praised up to this point, seems pleased as punch with this disastrous mess, outrageously claiming that, quote, all our priorities are there in some way, shape, or form. She also said this nauseating trash about Joe Biden.
The president is the inspirer. He is the closer. He is the convincer. The mediator in chief. He really is doing a phenomenal job.
Are you kidding me?
The left-wing position was about $10 trillion. Biden wanted $6 trillion. There was the reconciliation package negotiation behind the scenes for which Bernie played a pivotal role. He was able to get us a $3.5 trillion bill. Now, if that bill passed in its entirety, it would have been wonderful. However, I'm not a bullshitter, so I'm not going to lie to you and say that that really had a chance of getting through. But what I've told you guys from the beginning is absolute bare minimum complete floor would be what? $2 trillion. And again, this is my personal reading of the situation, what I think is gettable and what I think is sufficient. $2 trillion floor, absolute floor, no climate, no deal, and absolutely no means testing in the bill. Well, guess what? It's failing the most basic of the basic litmus tests. Now we're talking about 1.75 to 1.9 trillion. And just so everybody understands, whenever it's presented as this or this, it is 100% of the time the lower number. So it's a $1.75 trillion bill we're talking about. And we're told Biden is now trying to sell progressives on that behind the scenes.
So I don't believe Biden because Biden is weak. He's fundamentally weak. He doesn't know how to use sticks, and he's getting bullied by the likes of Joe Manchin. It's really sad. It's incredibly pathetic. It's frankly quite embarrassing.
Here's the thing, when the progressives, especially in the House and Senate, like Bernie Sanders or AOC, post on Twitter these feel-good tweets. Look, these are tweets I agree with. Look, Medicare for all, what would Medicare for all do for me? The world. What would student debt forgiveness do for everyone? The world. It'd be everything. That is a fact. But now what? What? The progressives compromise on the compromise to get another compromise to compromise and whittle down that $7 trillion, because that's what it started at, to what now? 3.5 trillion to now what? 1.9 trillion? And then AOC is going to be screaming. AOC, Bernie Sanders, and all the congressmen and women who are part of the progressive Oh, I nearly had tongue slipped right there. Caucus, right? Caucus, right?
Both have the same first syllable. Right?
I know exactly. you are a part of that group. You could have been holding Biden and Harris accountable. You could have been raising the ruckus. You could have been rallying your supporters. You could have been doing a lot of things. But I don't have to explain this to you because it's right there in front of you, and you chose not to fight back. And Manchin and Sinema are doing what you, the progressives in the United States Senate and House, should be doing. So convince me, vote blue no matter who, that I need to vote for the Democrats. Because I know it's expected from Republican lawmakers, but if now progressives are going to start crying, they should have been pushing back harder from day one. And if that upsets anyone, if you want to get anything done, if you want to fight for that better future, if you want to make sure you want to build back better, it means you have to rattle a few cages.
First and most pressing thing to say is that progressives must reject this proposal and be prepared to vote it down if it ultimately comes to that. It's not a close call, guys. Remember, the rallying cry of progressives throughout this whole process was no climate, no deal. And to their credit, up to this point, they have held the line. They won that first game of chicken with corporatists. They forced everyone back to the negotiating table. If they cave now, when their only clear demand was gutted like a fish, they'll be betraying their supporters and they will never be taken seriously in D.C. again.
Here's my answer on this front. Hell no. Hell no. Not in a million years. I'd vote no, and I'd vote no with a smile on my face. Here's the thing that drives me crazy. If I got the sense that there was an adequate plan behind the scenes from Joe Biden, if I got the sense they were truly negotiating in a way that's even mildly sufficient, then it'd be easier to swallow some of these sour-ass pills. But you and I both know that's not what's happening. And you and I both know Biden probably doesn't really care about the specifics in this reconciliation bill.
Joe Biden's getting slapped around by Joe Manchin. He's selling out his own supporters, the people who went out of their way to canvass for him, to campaign for him, to support him. Even progressives who didn't really favor him as the Democratic candidate, went out of their way to make a robust case in favor of getting that man elected. Because, hey, Donald Trump is such a threat. Donald Trump was a bad dude, okay? He cut corporate taxes, and Joe Biden said that he was gonna reverse that, but he didn't do it because he's a coward. The president of the United States is a coward.
This is this patheticness that we've come to accept from the progressive side of the aisle. They're not doing anything. In fact, they're usually getting in the way by giving people false hope that they're never going to materialize on. I want to say, if the progressives vote yes on this bill, there's no credit, but they don't exist. They don't exist. They frankly do not exist. Because if your idea, and again, we talked about this, it seemed to be the thing that Bernie Sanders that he pulled out of the election for. This was the concession that he was given, was this bill that has now been whittled down to nothing. If the progressives go, well, it's something, and vote for this, it's pathetic.